Hey, welcome. All right, question for you today, and that is, what does masculine leadership look like? And would you follow it? Would you follow the lead of someone who is providing masculine leadership? All right, so welcome to Live Intentionally with John and Sandy. I'm John. Sandy is off for today, and yeah, I want to share just kind of starting out with some stories because this is something that took me a while to learn. And it's something that had I known, quite honestly, could have turned around my first marriage or made it different in my prior marriage. And it's something that I had to learn the hard way. And so I share this in the hopes of really encouraging women to what to look for and what they would identify and how that feels to them, but also for men to provide some examples of what not to do, some cautionary tales, but also some tales of what to do. So we'll start a little bit of the what not to do at this point in time. And look, I'm gonna talk about myself and the what not to do. Like I said, in my prior marriage, this is something I had to learn, and I really found myself going between two extremes. Early on in my marriage, it was pretty much dictatorial. It was, okay, here's what we're going to do, and here's how we're going to do it, and here's the plans for this weekend, and we're going to Disney, and we're going to be at Disney at 7 a.m. in the morning, and we're going to be there when the gates open, and boom, 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 boom. And it was highly structured, and it also was highly rigid, and it also was pretty much, this is how it's going to be. And I really didn't take into account and factor in what did she want, right? And then that started to break down over time. So I went to this other extreme, which was the committee approach. And the committee approach, you've probably experienced this, and ladies, feel free to share in the chat how this feels to you. But it's where it's Friday night and you're getting ready to go out to dinner. It's date night or something like that, and your partner turns to you and says, I don't know what we're gonna. What do you feel like doing? What do you feel like doing? And they just throw the whole thing out, no plans, right? Or it's going to be a vote, or it's going to be a committee, and it just gets thrown out for someone else to make the decision. And we talk about that as almost it's an abdication of leadership. I'm just going to put it out. I'm going to put it to committee. I'm going to put it out there. And this side, while it promotes, some decisions, it's a way to do it. You can do very equal, but it is not going to generate a polarity. It is not going to generate, any feelings, desires by your partner for you. And what happens a lot of times is men will force their women into the masculine because they won't make a decision. And so they just hand it over, they abdicate, and now their partner has to make a decision. And it just, tell you what, this one breaks down over time too, because women feel that, look, if I'm in my masculine all the time, if I'm having to make all the decisions anyway for this family, right, then what are you really doing here? And they don't feel safe, they don't feel protected, they don't feel seen and understood. It's just really, oh, here you go, right? And there's no safety in what we're providing as men when we do that. So, those are definitely examples. And like I said, I learned from that. I learned my prior marriage because I didn't do that. And I, in fact, have written letters to my children. I've written a letter to my ex-wife to, really apologize and own my abdication of leadership and my lack of leadership during that time. So what's an example of something where it really does work and it's really fantastic? And I tell you, I'm going to honor my dad for this because I saw him just set the stage. This was something that it touched me so deeply when I saw this. My stepmom had been in the hospital for surgery, and she had been in the hospital for several days after the surgery. She was ready to go home. She was really hoping to go home and get released. My dad had been there, and he had been coordinating everything with the hospital and the nurses to take care of her care. But he knew that she wanted to come home as well, and he wanted her home. But the doctors were talking about more tests and more observations and everything else and what they're going to do. And my stepmom's stress level was starting to go up because she was really getting anxious. I hope they'll let me go. I hope they'll let me go. Oh, we just had a camera malfunction here. All right, there we go. I hope they'll let me go. I hope they'll let me go. And the doctor came in the room and he started talking about the need for more tests and needs for observations. My dad has this voice. My dad has this very, think like Tommy Lee Jones in The Fugitive, where he's like, I want to see 2 helicopters coming over that hill. I want to see 10 men on each side of this perimeter marching out. It's that direct voice. And he turned to the doctor and he said, absolutely not. She's coming home today. We're educated people. You'll show us what to do. We'll take care of it. We'll report back to you if there's any signs, but she's not staying here another night. Boom. And it was in that voice. And that was something that really touched me deeply as an example of masculine leadership, because he did it in a way that wasn't just, this is my selfish desires and I want her home and she's coming home today. This was, he truly felt into her heart. He knew what she wanted. He knew that she did not want to stay in the hospital any longer. And he made the decision and he took action on it so that she didn't have to. And it was beautiful. It was a beautiful example of just what to do in this case. And I can tell you, they have a wonderful relationship. And, my stepmom at first, she was a little, oh my God, you just told the doctor what to do. And then she was really happy when she got home and she settled in, and she was just really happy that she was home. So look, as men, what are the things that we can do to provide masculine leadership, and what does that look like, right? I gave you the example of, it's not dictatorship. It is not throwing everything out to committee, not if you want to maintain polarity. There's cases where committee is great, but not if you want to maintain polarity. So really this comes down to, how are you providing structure? And a great way to do this is really to reduce options, or to clarify, simplify, make it very simple. You're not always just going to make the decision and say, well, we're going to eat Mexican at this place, right? But you might narrow it down. You might say, baby, I'm open for Mexican, Italian, or Chinese, right? Here's 3 places that are open. Which do you prefer, right? Or you could even be more direct and, baby, I'm thinking either sushi off the place on 4th, or we're going to go to, the steakhouse, right? And we're going to go to that one on Central. And you really narrow it in, and you provide 2 options. And man, I'll tell you this way, if you're confused, think of how you'd act on a first date. Think of what you do on a first date. You would not show up to a woman's house on your first date and get out of the car, and when she comes out, just say, what you feeling like? Where are you feeling like tonight? Where do you want to go to dinner? I'll take you out somewhere. Just tell me what you want, right? Wouldn't fly. So think of it as a first date. How do you reduce options, or how do you narrow it in, or how do you provide something and provide that structure, provide those options, so that you're either reducing the amount of decisions that need to be made, or leading to a decision for something, and just saying, here's what we're going to do, but being open to that feedback, being sensitive with your heart. I think the second way that men can show leadership is through creating safety, right? So are we thinking about our partner's safety when we make a decision? Are we thinking about what would make her feel safe? And it's not just necessarily physically safety, but it can also be emotional safety, or psychological safety, right? Financial safety are all ways that we can provide safety. And a lot of times as men, especially while in the area of financials or emotions, we will back off from that, right? We may be great about, we're going down a dark alley and we're going to walk in front, we're going to keep our eyes out, or avoid the dark alley in the first place, right? But when we get to a situation of emotional or financial safety, right? Men, let's be honest, how many times do we not have the tough decision about finances because we just believe there's going to be a fight? We have that all set up in our mind. There's going to be a fight if we talk about finances. Or how many times do we not talk about emotions? And we're just like, okay, she said she doesn't want to talk, so I'm going to leave it alone. And these are areas where we can really provide safety, and we can provide that leadership so that our partner feels safe following us. Our partner feels safe voluntarily choosing to follow our leadership. And then finally, the final thing that I'd say for men is just know what you want and set a direction to get there. And it's not just what you want as an individual, like I want a motorcycle, or I want to go to this place on vacation, but what do you want for the family? What do you want for your partner, right? I want us to have a romantic evening, so I'm going to plan that. I want us to have time together without the kids, so I'm going to plan that. I'll line up the sitter, I'll line up something for us to do. So when it comes down to masculine leadership, taking the lead, knowing what you want, not just deferring and going out and fishing with your partner to find out what she wants, but really knowing what you want and defining it and setting a path in motion to get there, sharing how you feel about it, sharing what you desire to do, getting that feedback from her to set the plan. But again, not just what do you want to do, but here's my options and here's what I'm looking at. And I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. That is, men, that is going to maintain polarity. Wow, you guys are getting a view of the floor a few times here today. There we go. So it is really about how do we maintain that polarity, avoid that committee, right, and maintain the polarity that's really going to create the heat in the relationship. So look, I would love to hear from everybody, and just for you to share some of your posts about what are some of the best examples that you've seen for masculine leadership personally, or you've heard a story. Where have you seen just outstanding examples of masculine leadership in your life? And men, you may see it and you observed it in another man, or it's something that you provided. Ladies, it's something that you may have experienced, or you had a friend who experienced it, just touched you, and it was beautiful. So, I'd love to share those stories and post those below about where have you seen examples of masculine leadership that were just beautiful to you. And look, it'll help other men too, because we learn by example. We can read those, and it will stir something up inside of us. So anyway, that's it for today. Hope that helps. Sandy and I always love hearing from y'all, love seeing you. And if you haven't already, be sure to like and follow our business pages, and that way you get notified when we do go live. All right, take care, everyone. Have a fantastic day.